Buster Nation? This is Mike Pilosof, the Sports Information Director at Garden City Community College. Hope you and your family are staying safe. It's been kind of a challenging time. Each week, for the duration of at least this time period, I'd like to hear from the Director of Athletics at Garden City, and that's Greg McVey, and he joins us now. Greg, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Mike. How are you? It feels strange not being in the same office as you or right next to you in our office suite, but it's always good to see your smiling face.
Always smiling. And it's kind of a weird dynamic now because you and I, as you mentioned, always talk because we have the offices right next to each other, and now we're talking virtually, as is everybody else. Zoom has become the new wave of the world, apparently.
Yeah, I've probably been on 500 Zooms over the past 5 weeks since we've been quarantined, but I'm starting to get pretty handy at it, but would rather be face-to-face in everything I do. But unfortunately, that's the world we live in right now, so have to make do.
And you're becoming a technological guru, so that's good.
Well, you know how it goes. I'm not a millennial, but there are some times when I feel like I am.
You're closing in. Well, we bring you on because there are certain topics we'd like to discuss. And there's a lot of people, and if you go on Twitter or any form of social media at this point, that's looking at the uncertainty of the landscape, not just with college football, with really all athletics right now at the NCAA, the NAIA level, and most certainly here at the NJCAA level. So I know you've had discussions with the administration team at the college and with the conference, and I know those conversations are ongoing. Give us some highlights and really what can we expect, or is there really no answer at this point?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been asked that question a lot from coaches, from student athletes, to people in the community about what's going to happen this fall. And, at this point, it's just discussions. We actually, if you think about it, we're still in April. We should still be completing our spring years with softball and baseball and golf and track and field and all those sorts of things. And so we're really not even to the end of the academic year yet. So it's kind of hard to fast forward through all this to try to figure out where we're going to be in the fall. There's lots of discussions going on about delaying it, playing it as is, canceling it altogether. But there really hasn't been any definitive thing come out at this point. I think we're trying to wait and see how things play out over the next few weeks before we make any concrete decisions. But as of right now, we are planning on being full go and doing what we need to do. But there's always that thing in the back of your mind going, at some point we might have to adjust. But right now, we have not made those determinations.
Is it really more, and I'm just specifically talking about Kansas right now, is it more so because there's really lack of clarity from the governor that, we keep extending stay-at-home orders? Well, if we can't get back on campus, I mean, is that lack of clarity, I guess, muddying the waters?
Well, yeah, for sure. We actually have to take heed from whatever the state kind of determines. But at the end of the day, it is very confusing at times because you don't know. Okay, so on May 3rd, are we going to be able to go back in the offices and start recruiting the way we're supposed to recruit and scheduling the way we're supposed to schedule and do everything as normal? You'd like to think you are, but there's part of me and there's a part of a lot of folks that are saying that may be extended again because there may be more cases of corona that come up. And so, it's a little, kind of out there right now. There's not really concrete things for us to do. So it does make planning hard. But my mindset is always control what you can control. And so right now, until they tell me something different, we're planning on going as is during the fall.
And as a media guy, I always put coaches and directors on the spot. But if you had a guess as of now, on April 21st, 2020, do you see everything starting? Just Greg McVey's opinion, everything starting on time?
No. And here's why I say that. And again, this is my opinion. I think the fact that we're in Kansas and the virus is hitting us a little bit later than some other folks, I think there's a little bit of a lag time. And I think once we get through that lag time, I think there's going to be some people realize that it might be good sense for us to maybe push the start dates back in the fall, whether that's 2 weeks, whether that's a month, whatever it is. But it might make good sense for us to make sure that we've got everything clean, we've got everybody tested, we've got all those things taken care of. Our facilities are prepared. They're kind of prepared to go, and then start. So personally, I think we should maybe delay it a little bit, but I certainly don't want to postpone it. Certainly one of those sorts of things that we have too many student athletes, we have too many staff members that work so hard that are trying to get things going in the right direction. I say that, but if it's not safe, we certainly do not want to put anybody out there on those fields, in our weight rooms, in our gyms, on our tracks, or any of those sorts of things. So I'd like to see a little bit of a delay, but at the end of the day, I'm going to follow whatever protocols the NJCAA, our league, and our school determine is best for us.
And for those that maybe don't follow the financial side of the bigger level, I was reading a story last week about LSU, and they were talking about if they canceled the college football season, LSU football brings in $56 million a year. Well, that subsidizes 20 other sports. And if you don't have that $56 million, and a lot of that is generated by ticket sales, they've got TV revenue, and I know that's different at the NJCAA, but if they don't have football, I mean, it could be Armageddon. Last point on this, how does that affect it? Let's just say the worst case scenario, football either gets pushed back or canceled. How does that affect just the junior college level?
Well, we're fortunate at our level that we don't have to have TV contracts and all those sorts of things to really be able to pay for the operations of our, teams, more or less. The school has made the determination that we want to fund, athletics and all of these sports that we offer. And we're going to do it. And we're going to use funds that are allocated to the institution to be able to provide that student athlete experience for all these kids. So I don't think it'll have quite the hit that it would at the Division I level, because they do provide, football and hoops provide so much revenue for all those other sports, the lacrosse teams and golf teams and all those sorts of things, that it might have an effect on them. Here, it's a little different. I think across the state at the tier level, it's a little different as well. We have funds that are set aside to operate all of our teams. Now, I say that, and if those funds get smaller, that may have a direct effect on what we can operate on here at our institution. So we have to be very aware that we may have to cut back on games. We may have to cut back on where we travel to. We may have to cut back on some supplies and all those sorts of things, depending on how this thing plays out. But we certainly are not at the level that Alabama or LSU is, but certainly we will still have some sort of an effect if the state funding is reduced by any stretch of the imagination.
And definitely puts things in perspective, just from an athletics standpoint.
No question.
All right. In moving on, I know that you guys have region meetings coming up early next week. So give us a taste. I know one of the big proposals, and it's been an issue, maybe issue is not the right word, but it's been a topic of conversation for the last few years in this conference. They changed the out-of-state limit to eliminate it a couple of years ago. They brought it back in football, so to speak. Now they want to do a new proposal, which is on the table right now. Give us some clarity on that, some context.
Yeah, we are in a state. It's called Kansas. We all know, and so the two-year schools across our state. There's 19 of them that do offer athletics. And one of the things that I think is coming down from the state is that if we're going to have Kansas schools, we probably need Kansas students playing on those teams, filling those rosters, getting the scholarship dollars and all those sorts of things. So there has been a change back to, let's make sure that we are serving Kansas student athletes as well, and making sure that they have the opportunity to participate at the 2-year level while they're getting their educations. So at the end of the day, when we changed the rule a few years ago where we can have as many out of states, they could be from Hawaii, they could be from Kansas, they could be from Nebraska, they could be from California. When they changed that, there was a perception that it took some opportunities away from Kansas kids to be able to pursue their passion of playing college athletics at the 2-year level. So there is a proposal that's been put out that would mandate that each team has a certain amount of Kansas students, graduates from high schools on certification rosters going forward. Each sport is different. And in theory, obviously it makes a lot of sense. I think one of the issues, the problems that it has is that we have schools that are located all over the state. Some are on the eastern part of the state where the population is dense. And then some schools like Garden City are on the other part of the state where it's more rural and there's just not as many kids to pull from. So the dilemma is, does it create an unfair advantage for those schools that are on the eastern part of the state because they're able to draw in more Kansas kids than we are on our part of the state? On the other side of that argument, it's like, okay, so can't you go to the eastern part of the state and recruit kids? Well, absolutely we can. There's no question, and we've done it in the past. But it does make it harder because all those schools on the eastern part of the state do a tremendous job on their facilities and their scholarships and the staffing that they put out there, and they have great institutions. So it's tough for us to pull those kids away and come 4 hours away, 5 hours away for, in essence, the same opportunity. So it does create a little bit of a gap there. Is it, one of those gaps that can't be overcome? Certainly not, because I have a lot of faith in our staff at Garden that we're able to recruit whoever we want to, and we build relationships and we offer great things for our kids when they come here. I'm not really worried about it, but at the end of the day, it does make our job as an athletic department a little bit harder because there's just not the numbers. It has nothing to do with the quality of the kids on this part of the state. There's just not the numbers. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. If this does pass, we will certainly comply and do whatever we need to do. But at the end of the day, we will discuss this probably at the beginning of the week in meetings and see how it plays out.
Now, lastly, in addition to that, has there been, and just from, even being in a meeting earlier this year where the legislature is putting more pressure now on these community colleges to bring in more Kansas kids, is that playing more of a role now with some of these proposals that are being put on the table? Because at the end of the day, the money that's being subsidized from the state, from the counties of these respective schools, as you mentioned, there is the word Kansas in each one of these colleges.
Yeah, I think that's probably where it all stemmed from is that there was something was identified at the state level that somebody didn't feel strongly about, that they go, maybe we should change this because, we have to protect Kansas. And I certainly get that. And I certainly understand that. But I do think that there's some unintended consequences to this that we don't even know yet. And so, I think it's one of those things. It's not unique because there are other states that have this as well. There is, Iowa and Mississippi both have it as well, and they seem to be doing fine. But at the end of the day, it is a change from what we're doing. All of a sudden you're telling us we can recruit from anywhere, and now you're telling us we only have a small place to recruit from for a certain part of our team. We'll have to adjust, and if it does pass, but we'll certainly do it if we're mandated to.
Greg, good stuff, and it's good seeing you as always, and we'll do it again next week.
Sounds great, Mike. I look forward to it, and stay safe. Take care, everybody.